Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Ramanasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu Me Bho Rama Mamuddhara Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram Satgurum Brahma Vidwaram Akhandam Satchidanandam Avang Manasagocharam Atmanam Akhiladharam Ashraye Bhishta Siddhaye Arthato Pyadvayanandan Ati Tadvaita Bhanatah Guruna Radhya Vedanta Saram Vakshe Yathamati. Hari Om. In Adhikari, or the Anubandha Chatushtaya portion, which we had seen in the beginning, the main Vishaya that was pointed out of Vedanta, you can come to that verse. This is verse number 27. Vishaya means the main topic of Vedanta. What is it that you are really trying to understand here? Jiva Brahma Aikyam Shuddha Chaitanyam Prameyam. The Prameya, the object or the goal in Vedanta is to understand that Chaitanya which is revealed through the oneness of Jiva and Brahma. Meaning what? There are several things we have seen until now, but the portion that we are seeing right now of Mahavakya, that is the main Vishaya of Upanishads, main Vishaya of Vedanta. The other things which were discussed, they are to come to this point only. So many things are discussed until now, right? The Adhikari Lakshana also we discussed, who should be a fit student. Different types of karmas we discussed. Nitya, Naimittika, Prayashchitta, Upasana, Nishiddha, all of them we discussed. Then Samashti, Vyashti, conditionings, those topics also we have discussed. But that is only to come to this Mahavakya. This is also one kind of mananam we can do. You pick any text, you pick any verse of that text. We should be able to connect how that verse is leading me to Mahavakya. It could have said a simple thing like one should control eating. Like in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan will say that. One should be very mindful about what we eat, how much we eat, what time we eat. Now that verse will also connect back to Mahavakya. Not directly, meaning it will connect back to the Adhikari. That Adhikari will do Shravanam. That Adhikari will understand Mahavakya in that way. So keeping Mahavakya in front, all other things should be looked at in Vedanta. All other topics should be looked at in Vedanta. Now you see the Prayojanam, 29th verse. Tad Aikya Prameyagata Ajnana Nivrutti. The Prameya, Chaitanya Vastu which is there, towards that there is Ajnanam, there is ignorance. And what is the prayojan of studying Vedanta? It is said, Tad Aikya Prameya Gata. Through this Mahavakya Vichara, whatever Ajnanam we have towards that Chaitanya Vastu, that should be removed. That I am not Upadhi, I am not Upahita Chaitanya, but I am that Anupahita Chaitanya. Same thing about Tat also. Ignorance about conditionings should be removed. This itself is called as Dukkha Nivritti. Here see, in Prayojanam, it is not said Atyantika Dukkha Nivritti. Here it is said Ajnana Nivritti. Means Ajnanam itself is Dukkham. And Paramananda Prapti is called as Swaswarupa Ananda Avaptischa. That which is our nature already, that is what we have to discover. So you can look at it this way. For Dukkha Nivritti, to stay away from sorrow, there are many things that we do. A challenge or a situation comes in front, we face it with whatever best ability we can. And we have our own ideas that if I solve this, everything will be fine. So the first step of looking at Dukkham is by resolving it. Resolving it at a transactional level. But this sadhaka, if he has done some shravanam, thought in line of Shastra, he will not only resolve, but he will also evolve through Karma Siddhanta. This is what we saw yesterday. Kahunako sukha dukkha karadata nijakrita karma bhoga sababhrata. He says situation has come, but I cannot or I should not just resolve it at only superficial level. I should also try to work on the karma. If karma is taken care of, situation is taken care of by itself. Although right now I might not see it changing, if I can work on karma, situation is taken care of. First was resolve, second is evolve. Third way of Atyantika Dukkha Nivritti is dissolve. Dissolve means what? Dissolve the experiencer who is going through that experience. Dissolve the experiencer who is going through the experience. This is Vedantic solution. That is why in Prayojanam it is said, Prameyagata Ajnana Nivritti. So through this Aikya, Mahavakya, the Jiva is Brahma. When we remove all the conditionings, what should be removed is this Kartrutva also. What should be removed is this Bhoktrutva also. And when only Shuddha Chaitanya is understood to be me, myself, Dukkha Nivritti is, actually there was no Dukkham to begin with. That is Vedanta's way of looking at challenges. Paramananda Prapti, how do we start the journey? We start with this idea that I have to attain, or don't use the word attain, you can say I have to gain Ananda. I have to gain Ananda, means I have to get it from outside. And not only I have to get it, not only have to gain it, I have to maintain it also. So in these two things, this sadhaka also takes support of karma first. That if I have done the right karma, whatever I have to gain will come to me unasked. If nobody can stop Dukkham from coming to us, no matter how hard people try, right? So this sadhaka also says, nobody can stop Sukham also coming to us. So to gain and to maintain, he is not too anxious about maintaining. Yogakshema he has given to Bhagwan only. Deva dharani dhanudhama tumhara, main jono niche sahita parivar. He says, Bhagwan, this also belongs to you. You take care about its well-being. But after doing both, he comes to the third step, which is not only to gain and maintain, but to attain. Attaining is something which we already have, right? Attaining generally we use for something we already have, but it was unknown due to ignorance. So this Chaitanya, which is Ananda Swarupa, that I don't have to gain, I don't have to maintain. It is already my nature, I just have to attain it through knowledge. Prayojanam also is fulfilled through Mahavakya only. Now that is clear, look at the Sambandha, 28th verse. Tadaikya prameyasya tat pratipadaka upanishad pramanasya bodhya bodhaka bhavaha. Between this prameya, which is Chaitanya, revealed through this Mahavakya, and the Mahavakya itself, which is going to be analyzed. Between them there is bodhya bodhaka bhava. Meaning what? If something is already attained, I don't have to go outside and get it. Only words are sufficient to give me that result. Because Chaitanya is our own Swarupa, gaining clear knowledge of Chaitanya, doing this Mahavakya Vichara by itself is sufficient to give us that result. Rather, that is the only way to get the result. If something is unknown due to ignorance, knowing it is the only way to get the result. This is why that Sambandha part becomes very subtle to understand. If I am looking for Ananda Prapti, why should I do Mahavakya Vichara? If I am looking for happiness in life, why are we doing all this Ajahallakshana, Ajahallakshana? And then one person says, I will let go of Tompada, offer it to Tatpada. He says, no, let go of Tatpada, offer it to Tompada. So the Sambandha is, if this knowledge becomes clear in its true essence, not only repeating it or feeling like I am Brahma. If I have understood Tat and Tompada, what they indicate, Upadi, Upahita, Anupahita, and then I am doing this Mahavakya Vicharana. And Adhikari Lakshana is also there. Then I will appreciate how this Mahavakya itself, Vichara on that, will give us the absolute goal of Paramananda Prapti. Okay. Because after end of Vedanta Saar, we have to again go back to what was promised and see whether we got it or not. Because that is what happens when we study in the beginning. Lot of promises are made that if you study Vedanta, Nandati, Nandati, Nandati eva, that person rejoices. And our memory is weak, little bit, not everybody, little bit it's weak. By the time you finish the text, you forget what was promised. And then move on to the next text. So this is a good way to look at it, that when you are studying in the beginning, whatever was said, go through the text and again come back and see whether it's somewhere in sight or not. Even if we have not fully established ourselves in that, at least we know we are headed in the right direction. Sambandha. Puja Guruji would say this, that in Sadhana Chatushtaya, the most difficult part to understand is Sambandha. Adhikari we can understand. Prayojanam also we can understand. Vishaya also, if somebody tells us what is the topic of Vedanta, you have understood. But what is the Sambandha? How does the Upanishad mantra or the verses that we are studying, how does that take us towards our Prayojanam? So in this way, that when we dissolve this ahankara, that dukkham which was never there is understood to be an appearance. And that ananda which was ever there, that is understood to be our nature. Okay. Now we had seen Mahavakya Vichara in that sequence. I'm repeating this so that the topic becomes easier for reflection. Every class we start from the same point. So Mahavakya, Swamiji first said, look at the padas. Tat, Tvam, Asi. see whether the padas, each word, it's in the same case ending or different case ending. If it is different vibhakti, different case ending, that is called as Bheda Samsarga Vakya. Bheda Samsarga Vakya. Whereas here in Tattvamasi Mahavakya, all the words are in the same vibhakti. They are in the same case ending. So that is called as Abheda Samsarga Vakya. Meaning, although they are different words, they are indicating the same thing. What was our example? Sukhakaram Prahladaniyam Paryatanam. You say Sukhakaram, it was joy giving. Prahladaniyam, it rejuvenated me. What was that? Paryatanam, Parikramanam. Some hike I went. That hike only is having those different indicators. So 3 words indicating the same thing, same locus. So Samanadikaranya Swamiji said is there between the padas. So we at least know this point that what is being indicated here is the same thing. One adhikarana is getting indicated. Now the moment you say one adhikarana, you say which of them is adhikarana, because you have just looked at padas now. You have not looked at padartha, the meaning of that word. There are several words, which one is the adhikarana? So then you try to apply it, Visheshana Vishesha Bhava. That something is the qualifier, rest of it is the, or many things are the qualifiers, one thing is the qualified. Visheshana means qualifier, Vishesha means qualified. So if you say blue, fragrant, beautiful lotus. Blue, fragrant, beautiful lotus. Now there is only one adhikarana. What is that adhikarana? So that you have to find through padartha. So here we saw the Visheshana conditions the Vishesha, but it can work both ways. Blue can condition the lotus also, lotus can condition the blue color also. And when that happens, you end up at one adhikarana. But when we try to apply that for Tattvamasi Mahavakya, we realized Tat cannot become qualifier for Tvam, Tvam cannot become qualifier for Tat. This is why we had to go into Lakshanas. Okay, and the last class we spent on looking at 2 different Lakshanas. Lakshana means implied meaning. Only when literal meaning does not give literal word, if you just take it, if you take the word literally, it does not give the meaning, then you go into implied meaning. The example we had seen was bring water. So water is having direct meaning, just stay with that. Somewhere else, water might be something else. You know why water is called as, why karma is called as water, right? In Ishavasya Upanishad, Tasmin Napo Matarishva Dadati, apaha word there means water. Means all karmas are done with that sankalpa taking water in hand. That is why it is secondarily called as karma, water. But over here, when you are getting direct meaning through that statement, bring water, I don't have to use implied meaning. If we use it, that is called as utpreksha. Utpreksha means what? You give something and you tell that other person, okay, tell me something about this particular object. He says, what do you want me to base my thinking on? He says, doesn't matter. You just tell what you are thinking. That is called as utpreksha. For example, when Bhagwan Rama goes to Lanka, the day before the war, Bhagwan calls everybody at night and they are having satsang every day. Jambavanji is there, Hanumanji is there, Lakshmanji is there, Angadji is there. He says, why is the moon having a dark spot? Why is the moon having a dark spot? And everybody gives their own opinion. One person says, when Brahmaji made Rati, material he took from moon only. That is why that dark patch is there. Then somebody gives another answer. A scientific person is saying, don't you know there are craters there? What kind of a question it is? Hanumanji, he asks, Hanumanji says, Bhagwan, this moon is your devotee. whatever you meditate upon, you become of that form. So you are Shyama Varna, you are dark in color. That is why the moon is reflecting you in him. Bhagavan says, this is, the type of thinking I wanted. But most importantly, this kind of thinking is called as Utpreksha. Yes, question is simple, right? What is the moon? Or why is there a dark spot on the moon? But he is saying it is not only that question, but he is finding some more implied meaning there, some deeper meaning there. That is called as Utpreksha. But if you want to understand Vivaksha, Vivaksha means what is the speaker trying to say? Get me a glass of water. He says for that, first you have to apply Vachyartha. If literal meaning is only telling us what to do, then we don't have to go into implied meaning. So literal meaning did not work. Visheshana Vishesha Bhava failed over here. So we went into Lakshanas. The first Lakshana we saw was called Jahat Lakshana. Jahat Lakshana means you let go of everything. First thing means first requirement for Jahat is you have to let go of everything. Take something which is related to that thing. And the third one was it should not be mentioned in the statement. So if you say, where is the village? You say village is in Gangaji. Now Gangaji, that Shabda, one has to let go completely and take something related to it, which is the banks. And then that bank is not mentioned in the statement. If it already said village is on the banks of Gangaji, then you don't need to again bring bank. Vachyartha itself is sufficient. So in the same way in Tattvamasi Mahavakya, if you try to apply Jahat Lakshana, you say I will let go of Tat or I will let go of Tvam. He says you have to let go of only Viruddhamsha, only the contradictory part. In consciousness, there is no contradiction. If you completely let go of one, then it is not serving us the purpose. And second is, bringing another Sambandhi is not possible because Tat and Tvam covers entire creation. We cannot bring something else to add there. Okay, then we saw there was one Purva Paksha who said, why don't we let go of Tvam completely? And we saw how that becomes Bhakti Darshana. Okay, and the another Lakshana that we saw, the second one was called as Ajahat Lakshana, where we are not letting go of something completely, but instead we are adding something else. One statement is made, Kakebhyah Dadirakshana, save the yogurt from the crow. So you add several other things to it. From all other things, you save that yogurt. So in the same way, he's saying, why don't we apply Ajahat Lakshana to Tattvamasi Mahavakya? Tat Tvam Asi, in that, let us add something. We don't have to let go. So what are the limitations that will come with this adding of Ajahat Lakshana? 166. Atratu Parokshatva Aparokshatvadi Vishishta Chaitanya Ekatvasya Vakyarthasya Viruddhatvat Tatpada. There's no pada, right? Viruddhatvat Tat Aparityagena Tat Sambandhinaha Yasya Kasyachit Arthasya Lakshitatve Api Tat Virodha Parihara Asambhavat Ajahallakshana Na Sambhavati Eva. So the main difficulty here in applying Ajahat Lakshana is we came to Lakshana because there was a contradiction between Tat and Tvam. And if you say, I am not going to let go of anything, I am just going to add something else. This is no matter what you add, that contradiction will always remain. Because between upadis, there was contradiction, parokshatva, parokshatva, alpajnatva, sarvajnatva. So all these conditionings are going to remain no matter what you want to add. That is the main essence here. Atra tu parokshatva, aparokshatvadi vishishta chaitanya ekatvasya. Of this consciousness, which is conditioned by parokshatva and aparokshatva. Means tat and tvam pada. Vakyarthasya, of that vakyartha which is there. Viruddhatvat. In vakyartha we found virodha between tat and tvam. Tat aparityagena. If you say, I will apply Ajahallakshana, and in Ajahallakshana you cannot give up anything. You can only add things. There are rules, even for Lakshanas. He says you cannot give up anything, you can only add things. If you say that, aparityagena, tat sambandhinaha yasya kasyachit. First of all, you will not find sambandhi. But still, even if you find any sambandhi, whatever it might be, arthasya lakshitatve api tad virodha parihara asambhavat. Means whatever you want, you can add, but still it will not do virodha parihara. Sarvajnatva will remain sarvajnatva, alpajnatva will remain alpajnatva. Meaning what? Without letting go of upadhi. Without letting go of upadhi, there is no absolute oneness. And this is why last class we were discussing that this Ajahallakshana is preferred by many sadhakas. Why is that? Because they don't tell you to have vairagya. They don't tell that you should let go of this conditionings, stay away from them. Adding is okay. Yes, I will do this also, and whatever little more sadhana I have to do, I will do that also. Means my conditionings also I will keep. See, keeping conditioning means keeping raga dveshas. Conditioning by themselves don't bother. But the moment we hold on to this individuality, it says the following step is raga dvesha which has to come. So this sadhaka is okay, with holding on to that individual raga dvesha, and he says on top of that I can keep adding more things. So this, in a technical term, becomes Ajahallakshana. So over here what is said is, no matter what we add, this virodha between tat and tvam, it will never go away. I will never able to come to this understanding that I am that Chaitanya. Asambhavat tat virodha parihara asambhavat Ajahallakshana na sambhavati eva. Ajahallakshana cannot work over here. Now, like in Jahat-Lakshana, we had one keen student who was observing and asked a question. Here also you have another student. He says, okay teacher, I know that you are going to apply Bhaga Tyaga Lakshana. Bhaga Tyaga means let go of conditionings from both sides, tat and tvam. He says, if you can get some work done in a smaller amount, why do you have to spend more? If you can get some work done in $10, he says you don't need to buy that same thing at $100. So here he says, if we can get the meaning of that statement by doing Viruddhamsha Tyaga from only one side, why don't we just do that? Why do you want to do Viruddhamsha Tyaga from Tat also and Tvam also? What is the previous student asking? The one who raised an objection. He said, why don't we do Tyaga of the whole thing? This is where we saw it becomes Bhakti Darshana. Tat Tat Asi, Bhagwan, you only are there. Or he says, let go of whole Tat. Completely, along with Chaitanya also, you let go of it. Only Tvam Tvam is there, it becomes Ahangraha Upasana. But now this student is not doing that. He says Viruddhamsha is there, right? And you said Viruddhamsha is what is causing problem, the opposite nature of the conditionings. Why can't we let go of that opposite nature only on one side? Let go of it on Tvam side, means Tvam will indicate Chaitanya. And he says that same Tvam will indicate Tat also. So that word Tvam is doing two things. One is it is letting go of its own conditionings, Alpajñatva, Kartrutva, Bhoktrutva, that it is letting go of. And it is indicating that Chaitanya. Okay? Tvampadas Chaitanya. And he says, this Tvapada Chaitanya, or this word Tvam, after having done that, it will indicate Tat. It will indicate Tat. Now you might wonder what kind of question is this? What is it trying to ask? First of all, think about how will we let go of Tvapada conditioning? Letting go means staying away. Okay, he says whatever is Tvapada conditioning, you stay away from it, put it in Tat first. Simple thing is Drigdrishya Viveka. Object is outside, you say I am the seer, different from that object. Eyes are different, object is different. Then you come to mind and the eyes. Eyes are the seen, mind is the seer. Then you say, mind is the seen, consciousness is the seer. Means by this, we have done Tyaga of Tvapada Upadhi. That I am not mind, I am not eyes, I am not the world outside. Then he says, what about Tatpada? He says, I don't want to think about Tatpada. Let Tatpada be wherever it is. Now, what is conditioning in case of Tatpada? World. Entire Jagat, right? Upadhi of Tatpada is what? Ajnanadi is Sakala Samashti Upadhi. So he says, what about world? He said, I don't want to think about world. You just do Tvapada Vichara, come to Chaitanya, let Tatpada be wherever it is. Then you realize this is a very deep darshana, which is called as Yoga Darshana. So in Yoga Darshana, the conclusion is you are Chaitanya. Because you are the seer, world is the seen. Tvapada Shodhanam is done. What about Bhagavan or Ishvara? You say Bhagavan is along with conditioning only. There is no essential nature of Tatpada as Shuddha Chaitanya. It is always with conditioning. This is the difference, fine line between Yoga Darshana and Vedanta. Vedanta says essential nature of Tat is also consciousness. Essential nature of Tvam is also consciousness. So he says if you let go of conditioning only on one side, you will end up in Yoga Darshana. Think about Tatpada also. One has to come to this Chaitanya at Tatpada. Now what is the other side? He says let go of conditioning from Tatpada. In this Jagat, everything is nothing but Chaitanya only. He says there is no world. There is nothing outside. It is all Chaitanya. But what about you? He says, I am there. Why? Because from Jiva's side, he has not let go of conditionings. He says from Tatpada side, you let go of conditioning, let it become Chaitanya. But from my side, I will not let go of my conditionings. This is that sadhaka who sometimes ends up in Jagat Mithyatva without letting go of without letting go of Ahankara as Mithya. That is this condition. That he has let go of everything else. And world, he is saying it is Mithya, Mithya. Why should I, do things over here? What is the purpose of, being too ambitious and everything? What he says, who is the one who is being ambitious? That person is Satyam. Jagat is Mithya, but the person who is here, it is Satyam. Both these are the thoughts which can come to a sadhaka. That is why it is mentioned here. Otherwise, they would not even take the effort to elaborate another verse. Right? So, two cases we saw. If you are letting go of conditionings only on Tvam side, then it will end up like in Yoga Darshana. That I am consciousness, but world still remains to be real. If we do that, what is the harm? Forever we'll be afraid that when I'm in the seat of meditation or when I am in solitude, everything is okay. But the moment we step out into the world, if world is still real, that world will bind this person. So his moksha will become conditioned moksha. Only in solitude he is mukta. The moment he is in vyavahara, he becomes bound. That's another struggle. Because Vedanta doesn't give conditioned moksha. Of course, solitude is needed for vichara. If we are too busy, we cannot think about these subtle topics. But once somebody has this clarity, staying away is a choice. If somebody wants to be that way, they can be that way. That is also okay. But if somebody is involved in the world, that doesn't bring down their knowledge. You'll see Mahatmas of both sides. Raman Maharshi, very, very withdrawn. And some other Mahatma, you might see Vivekananda ji, Puja Gurudev, they'll be very much into the world, in and through action. Both of that has nothing to do with moksha. Why? Because moksha was ajnana nivritti. If that has happened, then we should not bring some other criteria for moksha. So that is this Purva Paksha. If you appreciate this, the verse will become easy. Nacha tat padam tvam padam va swartha viruddhamsha aparityagena amshantara sahitam tvam padartham tat padartham va lakshayatu atah katham prakarantarena Bhaga Lakshana Angikaranam iti vachyam. Just like you did in the last Purva Paksha, after Nacha you can start the quotes and end it after Angikaranam. After Angikaranam. So whatever is said inside the quotes is said by the student. Whatever is said outside is said by the teacher. Teacher only says, Nacha iti vachyam. Don't say like this. Everything else student says. Okay. What is saying now? Tat padam tvam padam va. Either tat pada or tvam pada. Swartha viruddhamsha parityagena. Only one of them. Either tat or tvam does tyaga of viruddhamsha from itself. So if you take tvam first, tvam has let go of conditionings. How did it let go of? Through Drigdirsha Viveka. It said, whatever is Drishya is not me. In that way, it let go of its conditionings. Amshantara Sahitam. Amshantara means Chaitanya is still there. In the previous case, he threw everything away. Or he took everything away. Over here, only Viruddhamsha is left out. Chaitanya is still remaining. So, Amshantara Sahitam, Tvam Padartham Tat Padartham Va Lakshayatu. Now he says that Amshantara, Chaitanya which is there, that is indicating the other word. So, Tatpada, that is the other word. So, if I let go of conditionings from Tvam, that Chaitanya is indicating Tat. That is his understanding. Lakshayatu Ataha Katham Prakarantarena Bhaga Lakshana Angikaranam iti Vachyam. If you can get the meaning by this alone, why are you going into Bhagatyaga Lakshana now? Why do you have to let go of the conditionings from Tat side also? Just do it from Tvam and you are okay. Or do it just for Tat, you are okay. You can get the meaning. Don't do Tyaga from both sides. Now, answer is given in 168. Two main reasons are pointed out. One is, a word cannot indicate itself also, and it cannot indicate something else at the same time. One word, you are saying it is indicating Chaitanya also, itself also, and it is indicating Tatpada also. He says two things cannot be done by one word at the same time. It has to let go of one meaning, then only it can show something else. So now if you say phone, right? The word phone cannot indicate this phone, and it cannot indicate this harmonium at the same time. So one word will have one meaning. If at all, let us say that word had two meanings, then it has to let go of its first meaning, then only it can indicate the second one. That is one reason. And second, he says, if Tatpada is already present there, it is indicating itself, why do you need Tvampada to indicate that meaning? It's presented in a technical way here, how Vakya is not possible. But if you want to hold on to the applied side of it, then think about what we discussed before. What happens if you only think about Tvam? What happens if you only think about Tat? Okay, let us see. Ekena padena swarthamsha padarthantare ubhayalakshanayaha asambhavat padantarena tadartha pratitau lakshanayaha punaha, sorry, that should be lakshanaya punaha tat pratiti apeksha abhavacha ekena padena, by one word only, swarthamsha padarthantare ubhaya lakshanaya. On one hand, it is showing swarthamsha, means it is showing Chaitanya, and it is showing padartha, other padartha also, padarthantare. Ubhaya lakshanaya asambhavat. One word cannot do two things at the same time. So Tvam cannot indicate, give up conditionings first and indicate Chaitanya, and then it's also indicating Tat. It cannot do in that way. Padantarena tadartha pratito. If you bring some other word, he says it is already indicating itself. You don't have to bring another word to explain that word. So Tat is already there. Why would you need Tvam to indicate Tat? Tat is already indicating Samashti Upadi, Samashti Upahita Chaitanya, and Shuddha Chaitanya also. Why do you want your Tvam Pada to let go of its conditionings and then indicate Tat Pada? Tadartha pratito lakshanayaha punaha tat pratiti apeksha abhavat. There is no need for another pada to come and indicate this meaning, because it is already indicating its own meaning. Okay. Don't worry if you don't appreciate what they're trying to say. But if we notice the thought process of the student, that will benefit in our sadhana. The main takeaway from these two verses is, don't just do Tvampada Vichara and leave Tatpada Vichara outside. Because Tatpada also is part of Mahavakya. More we do Vichara of that, our clarity of Tatpada, clarity of Tattvamasi Mahavakya will be more. So now, Jahallakshana na sangachate, Ajahallakshana na sangachate. Third one remaining is Bhagatyaga Lakshana. Bhagatyaga means, in part we let go of something, and in part we keep something. Means we make it into two parts. One part we let go of, one part we keep. And we are very familiar with these expressions. We do it in our mind, but we don't explicitly say it. Now you say, I ate a banana for breakfast. Okay. Now you say you ate a banana for breakfast, you don't say what happened to the peel. Right? You did tyaga of that peel and you ate the fruit inside. That is Bhaga Tyaga. One part was given up, one part was kept. There is no adding also. So it is not Ajahallakshana. No adding is needed. Neither is there any complete giving up. So Jahad also is not needed. But in part we give up, in part we take. This another very nice example comes in Rama Gita. Not Ramcharitmanas Rama Gita. In Adhyatma Ramayana, the Rama Gita that comes. Bhagwan Ramchandra ji has sent Lakshman ji to take Sita ji to Valmiki Rishi's ashram. And Lakshman ji is having so many questions. But he knows if Bhagwan has said, there is some reason behind it. So he very diligently goes, makes Sita ji settle in Valmiki Rishi's ashram, and everything is okay. But on his way back, just like Nishad Raj yesterday, when things are calm, he has a lot of questions. Lakshman ji is feeling a lot of pain inside. That why did Bhagwan ask me to leave Sita ji in the forest and come? And then he is unable to go through it, and he asks Bhagwan, and Bhagwan, please tell me, what is this world? Why things happen in this way? Why is there so much of dukkham? So Bhagwan, like a good teacher, he doesn't directly answer just that question. He gives a context. He builds different bhumika. Bhumika means give a context. And then finally, when it comes to nature of this jagat, he says, really speaking, there is nothing over here. There is only Chaitanya. Everything that we see is a play of our own karma, which also is an appearance. And there he explains Mahavakya to give that teaching. Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Only two part is not sufficient. That Brahma is Satyam, Jagat is Mithya. He says, I am that Brahma. Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. That Brahman I am. This understanding will come through Mahavakya. And for that, Bhagwan gives example of a coconut. He says, if you say, I had this coconut, meaning what? We have let go of the hard shell from outside. And the sweet water which was inside, that we kept. He says, like this, you should let go of all the hard conditionings from outside, and that Shuddha Chaitanya should be kept inside. This is Bhaga Tyaga. Viruddhamsha Tyaga is done. Whatever is contradictory, that you can give up. Now, if there is so much of Virodha, why can't we let go of the statement itself? Right? Tattvamasi, Mahavakya, so much we are struggling, There are so many other statements in Upanishads, so many other things are mentioned. Why don't you just stay with that? Why are we taking Mahavakya so seriously? We say if they had said it once, there could have been possibility that you could have ignored it. But in Chandogya Upanishad 6th chapter, it is said 9 times. Means at least one we should get. First time we didn't get, second time we didn't get, mind was somewhere. Third time we missed the class, fourth time something else happened. It says at least once you get, means our avrutti is there. Whatever is said so many times, whatever is repeated, it means the main essence is in that thing. And of course, Tattvamasi Mahavakya is Pramana Vakya. Pramana Vakya means it is revealed through Upanishads. It is a statement made by a Rishi. Not made by him, but made through them. Because it is Apaurusheya, not a human intellection. So that's why we cannot let go of Mahavakya. Another is, you saw what was said in Prayojanam, right? And also in Vishaya. Means the main result that we want to see. In Prayojanam it was said, Paramananda Prapti will come through this Aikya Prameya. Means through this knowledge of oneness, we will get that absolute bliss. So if you let go of the statement itself, all those phalashrutis which are given, they will become just another praise. There will be nothing called as moksha, nothing called as jivan mukti. This is, those statements are just there as a praise of Brahma Vidya. Because phalashrutis are given in that way, tarati shokam atmavit, one who knows this knowledge crosses across all sorrows. That is why Mahavakya Vichara has to be done and Mahavakya cannot be ignored. So now let us see Bhaga Tyaga Lakshana 169. Tasmad yatha soyam devadattah iti vakyam tadartho va tatkala etatkala vishishta devadatta lakshanasya vakyarthasya amshe virodhat viruddha tatkala etatkala vishishtamsham parityajya aviruddham devadatta amshamatram lakshayati. We'll see this much first. This is the example part. Tasmad yatha, therefore, just like in the statement Soyam Devadatta. In the statement Soyam Devadatta iti vakyam tadartho va tatkala etatkala. Devadatta who is conditioned by that time, tatkala, and Devadatta who is standing in front. Remember Devadatta, right? 15 years before, that small boy, and the one who is standing today in a very different form. Etatkala vishishta Devadattasya Vishishta Devadatta Lakshanasya Vakyartaha Amshe Virodhat. There is Virodha between both of them in the literal meaning of the statement. Saha ayam Devadattaha. In the sense his appearance is different. The way he talks is different. But there is Virodha only in Amsha. The person by himself is the same. Because there is Virodha in Amsha. Viruddha tatkala etatkala vishishtamsha parityajya. By letting go of only the Virodhamsha, which is tatkala vishishta and etatkala vishishta. Or you can say tatkala visheshana and etatkala visheshana. The qualifiers of that time and qualifiers of this time, you can let go of. Aviruddham devadattamsha matram lakshayati. Between that essential person who is there, Devadatta, there is no Virodha. So this statement, Saha ayam Devadatta, by letting go of the conditionings, that statement is indicating this Devadatta. If you just think about that statement itself, many things about Mahavakya will become clear. That if you literally apply Vachyartha, it did not give the meaning. A lot of contradictions are there. But if you apply Lakshyartha, the Viruddhamsha, it is not his essential nature. That is why you can shave off the beard and whatever you want you can do and then indicate Devadatta only. Now, in the same way for Mahavakya. Tatha tattvamasi iti vakyam tadartho va parokshatva aparokshatvadi vishishta chaitanya ekatva lakshanasya vakyarthasya amshe virodhat viruddha parokshatva aparokshatva vishishtamsha parityajya aviruddham akhanda chaitanya matram lakshayati iti. Tatha, in the same way, tattvamasi iti vakyam, the statement tattvamasi, this vakya or its meaning, tadartho va parokshatva aparokshatvadi vishishta chaitanya. So tat represents parokshatvadi vishishta chaitanya. that consciousness which is conditioned by parokshatva and all other adjectives which go for tatpada. And tvam represents aparokshatvadi vishishta chaitanya. And those conditionings which are there, which are conditioning this chaitanya at an individual level. Alpajnatva, sarvajnatva, all the conditionings. Aparokshatvadi vishishta chaitanya ekatva lakshanasya vakyarthasya amshe virodhat. Now in that statement there is no virodha between chaitanya. There is virodha between conditionings. So those conditionings are removed. Vakyarthasya virodhat viruddha parokshatva aparokshatvadi vishishtamsha parityajya. Only the virodha amsha, whatever was contradictory part, that is let gone off. Aviruddham akhanda chaitanya matram lakshayati iti. That chaitanya which is aviruddha. Aviruddha means non-contradictory. But if you see Adhyaropa Prakriya, it was one to begin with. You remember in the beginning, we said there is one Chaitanya. That Chaitanya with Avidya Upadhi becomes Jiva. Chaitanya with Maya Upadhi becomes Ishvara. And then everything was described, how from Tatpada this entire creation came. Tvam-pada also, conditionings and all, came from this creation only. But then there was this Jiva who was elaborated. All Panchakoshas were described. 3 states of experiences were described. And at Tatpada, Bhagwan's powers were described. Everything was done. So through that, lot of sadhana is done. Lot of unfoldment has happened in this sadhaka. And he can come to inquire into tattva. Simple thing is this: if our mind is too preoccupied with nama rupa, tattva chintanam can never happen. Nama rupa means I want something from that nama rupa. Like this harmonium, right? If you are too interested in playing it, attention will not go on what is this harmonium made up of. So that is this Mahavakya Vichara, which is preceded by sadhana through this Adhyaropa Prakriya, where a lot of worries of Yogakshema have gone down. This sadhaka has so much of faith in Bhagavan, has so much of faith in karma. That is, I don't have to worry about transactional things too much. Little bit worry has to be there. But that sadhaka, when he inquires into tattva, what is Bhagavan's essential nature and what is my essential nature, that is when this Virodha Parityaga happens. Or Viruddha Amsha Parityaga happens. The contradictory nature which is there, that is dissolved. But again, we should go back. How did you dissolve it? How did you dissolve it? Because it was not there to begin with. At this point, we should keep reflecting more. The conditionings were not there to begin with. What do you mean? This world is there, this body is there, mind is there. What are you saying that it is not there to begin with? This is where we have to analyze Vivarta examples. If you take snake and rope, how will you dissolve that illusory snake into the rope? Through this knowledge that that illusory snake was never there to begin with. That rope alone was there. Because of ignorance, I thought that rope to be the snake. Only if it is this way, I can dissolve it through knowledge. So here also, starting from ahankara, all the way, starting from ahankara, next is his physical body, all the way until different brahmandas. Where have they emerged from? We saw in the prakriya, the procedure when we saw this creation, how it unfolded. From consciousness with Maya conditioning 5 elements, from that came the subtle world, from that came the gross world. So everything has come from that Chaitanya only. Can anything real emerge from that Chaitanya? This is the main point. More we can reflect, more this Mahavakya will open up for us. Otherwise, this question should bother. It is not a mathematical equation that tat equals tvam. You let go of conditionings from left hand side and right hand side. What is remaining is that consciousness. You say, how can you let go of this conditioning which is physical body, which is seen so clearly, world is seen so clearly? So for that, we should do Laya Prakriya. Dissolve Nama Rupa first into 5 elements. And this is very scientific. Laya Prakriya, there is no faith involved per se. You see, what we are seeing is only 5 elements because attention is on Nama Rupa. I'm so carried away by that form itself, it is hard to boil it down into 5 elements. So you start with things which we don't have raga dvesha towards. Right? That's why to meditate upon nature is easy than to start with something that we have raga dvesha for. So from there, come to subtle elements. How is this gross world being perceived? Where is it being perceived? Is it outside or is it in the mind? And by the time this world comes to the mind, everything has become subtle. Sense organs do this filtering by themselves. They say gross world doesn't remain gross anymore. Everything has become subtle. And without subtle world, I have no clue about the gross world. Meaning without mind, we have no clue about the gross world outside. So this we have dissolved, come to subtle creation. And it's a great step in our sadhana. It will help reduce our insistence on outside world. If we can just come to Sukshma, then dissolve Sukshma into Karana. Then finally dissolve that Karana into Chaitanya. Karana means what? These thoughts are also rising from some place, It is so difficult to notice that. I can see thoughts if I'm lucky. Otherwise, only object is seen. But even when I see thought, thinking about where this thought has come from. That is this avyakta, and that avyakta itself is the seed of this entire creation. And that conditioning is actually not a real emergence from consciousness. It's only due to ignorance we are in this condition. Through that, Mahavakya Vichara will open up more for us. Okay. The most steep climb in Vedanta Saar is done. Now you can relax. Enjoy the scenery. Okay. The Mahavakya Vichara is that peak. If Upadhi Tyaga can be done, if we can appreciate our own nature as different from mind, different from body, that joy which we get, it is that joy from the top of that mountain. Okay. But a lot of struggle is there while climbing. First Jahad comes, then Ajahad comes, then Jahad Ajahal comes. Next time we'll continue with Aham Brahmasmi. Next Tuesday will be our quiz. It's a fun quiz, so don't get stressed out. You can just revise chapter 1, Vedanta Saar. It's only on chapter 1. Okay. So Diwali Puja will be on Monday evening. Tuesday morning will be a lighter version. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.